Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we have with us a fascinating guest. She goes by the name of Caitlin Baker. Now, why is Caitlin fascinating? It's because she's actually a graduate from our Medical Sales Career Builder program. Caitlin was a nurse that wanted to get into medical sales. She was trying and she wasn't getting results she was going for. She found our program, and 90 days later, we are proud to say she is in a medical sales role as a medical device sales representative. And, her story is very unique because she actually, I'm not even going to spoil it. I'm going to save that for the episode. What I can share with you is that she was a nurse. She wanted it. She found us. She got in. And 90 days later, she's a medical device sales representative. If you're someone that's trying to get into medical sales, maybe it's pharmaceutical, maybe it's medical device, any kind of healthcare sales, then you better be listening to this episode because she goes into exactly what she experienced and the unique experience she had that I want everyone to learn from when they listen to this episode. And of course, if you're someone that's in the medical sales industry, then maybe you had a hand in her journey. And you're one of the few people she spoke with as she went through what she went through in the 90 days through our program. Again, if you're someone trying to get in, listen to this episode. Maybe this could be you 90 days from now. And I'm so proud and happy and excited to share this with all of you. As always, thank you for listening to the Medical Sales Podcast. And I really do hope you enjoy this interview. Hey, Caitlin, how are we doing today?
Hi, Sam. I'm great. Excited to be here. How are you?
I am fantastic. Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
My name is Caitlin Baker, and I am officially a new Galderma sales rep for their aesthetic line.
Woo! Okay, so this is a treat because Caitlin is actually a graduate of the Medical Sales Career Builder program. And gosh, Caitlin, it's been quite the journey, hasn't it? It's been quite the journey. You got into our program. You gave it your gusto, and you got a position relatively quickly. But then there's a whole story behind that I'm not going to give away. So we're going to start with you. So let's go back. How did you even find our program? Talk to us about what was going on in your world as a nurse before you found us.
So, like you said, we'll go way back. I was a registered nurse, or I am a registered nurse. That's a license that I'll forever keep in good standing. And I was a labor and delivery nurse for the past 6 years. Bedside, I did 2 staff positions, and I also did 4 years of traveling. So I've seen a lot of units, seen a lot of different hospitals, and I got to a point, I think, really around the COVID timeframe, like so many nurses out there, where I just felt a combination of just this, everything changed in the medical world. It changed so quickly and not necessarily for the better. It was really hard. It was really stressful. And at the same time, I found myself kind of having done the same thing for day in, day out, each shift. Nothing was really changing for me. And I'm the type of person who really needs new injected into their life in different amounts. I needed a new challenge. I needed a new direction. I needed to do something. I loved my job. I loved my patients. I still do. I'll definitely miss that aspect of my career. But I felt like I was just doing the same thing every day, day in, day out. Nothing was really changing. I wasn't growing as a person. I felt like I couldn't provide the kind of care that I wanted to provide for a myriad of reasons. A lot of it being protocols and procedures that, the hospitals dictate, and kind of being bound by those rules. But then also, COVID changed so much with patient interaction and, patients' families couldn't come in anymore. And so much changed about the type of care I was giving. And I felt really stifled and stagnated. So I remember kind of thinking to myself, what's next? What am I going to do next? And in the nursing world, you kind of either go administration, which I knew I did not want to do, or you go practitioner. And so I was like, well, let me just jump into that next thing. Let me just do nurse practitioner school. So I got into NP school and started chipping away at that, did really well there. Spent 2 years working on that while I was still taking travel contracts, and thought that that was where I was going to end up, and realized very quickly once I got to my clinicals that I had not put much thought into it. I kind of just knee-jerk reaction did it because I was bored and I wanted something new to do. And that's not the right reasons, right? Patients don't need somebody who's going to be there whose heart's not in it. You know, we have enough of that in this country. We need providers who want to be there and whose heart and soul is in the care that they're giving. And I had a little bit of a crisis. You know, I stopped taking contracts. My mom moved out of our house. It's kind of a long story, but we didn't have summer care for our 2 boys. So I had to stop taking contracts. And during that period coincided with when I was going to be starting my clinicals. And I just had to hit the pause button. I was like, I got to figure out what's going on mentally, emotionally. What am I doing? I'm just charging forth without much thought, and this is going to impact my future and patients lives. And you know,
so tell us a little bit about, you say a lot changed and the catalyst was COVID. What specifically was changing in your as a nurse? What was changing for you that made you say, you know what, it has to change now I have to change with this type of change?
A lot of the protocols in the hospitals, I mean, they had to do what they have to do. There's a lot of procedural things that had to change because of COVID. And that's really nitty gritty stuff. But I think more so it was just my realization that I was never going to be able to give the kind of care I wanted to give. This kind of goes into my own personal philosophy stuff of, you know, I'm a big fan of physiological birth, and I felt like I was in this system where I couldn't support that. I felt like I was at, you know, kind of fighting this fight every shift, every contract, every hospital, of trying to support these women and keep them out of the OR. And a lot of the care in this country, maternity wise, is you're going to wind up in the OR. And that's a really hard system to continue to fight all the time and not succeed at. So it was a marriage of feeling defeated in that sense, my career not very fulfilling, not being able to accomplish this thing I was passionate about, and also all these new rules, all this new stress, all this new worry. You know, at that point in time, it was so scary. Am I going to get COVID? Am I going to give this mom COVID? Who knows if I got my coworker? You know, it was really just heavy. It was a very heavy time. And so once I had taken a step back, you know, when I was pursuing NP school, and then I stopped taking contracts, so I had to be home for my sons, I reconnected with a childhood friend of mine who's actually the regional director for Philips Oncology out on the East Coast. Yeah. So, and I knew he was in device. I didn't know too much about his role, but I knew he had a lot of success, and he was, you know, a good friend of mine. We've known each other since we were babies, and we reconnected, and it was weird timing. Right. And I was just venting to him about this. You know, I said, oh, I'm in NP school. And he was all, wow, that's amazing. That's great. And I wish I could do that. And I was like, oh, you know, I just don't know. I feel like I'm doing it for the title or the wrong reasons. And I was just venting to him, and he dug deeper and was kind of asking me more about, well, what are you passionate about? What do you like to do? And I started just, you know, having a deep conversation with him. And at the end of it, he said, you know, I think you'd be great for sales. And I was,
you're like, what? Say what?
Yeah, never in my life had I ever considered myself appropriate for sales. You know, sales has that negative connotation to the outsider. It always has. And it's unfortunately, you know, I think it's inaccurate now, having learned more. But at the time I was like, oh, really? So, but it sparked something, you know. I was like, okay, well, you know, it's worth looking into. So I'm a big reader, researcher. Anytime I get into any topic. I can't, I'm like, give me all the books, give me all the info. I want all of it. I need to,
Right.
dive head first. And that's how I found you guys. So the first thing I did was go on podcasts, and I looked up medical sales podcast, and like literally those 3 words, right? And yours was the first one that popped up. I'm like, perfect, here we go. Let's jump in. So I think there's a couple other shows I downloaded, but yours was the only one that I actually stuck with and listened to. And so kudos to you and your
Thank you very
content.
much. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I started listening to, your podcast. I got a few books. To Sell is Human by, I think it's Daniel Pink.
Okay.
That was
Yep.
the first book I ever read. And that really, in combination with your podcast, changed my perspective on sales
Love
in
it.
general as a whole, because it really talks about how we all sell, every one
Right.
of us, every
In every
industry.
aspect.
A
Right.
mom sells, trying to get her
Right.
kid back. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that really had me like, oh wow, it's not this, snake oil salesman, skeevy. I was
Yep.
very grateful for that perspective gain that I got.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, so I started listening to you guys, and heard your course, and after a lot of meditation and reflection and really digging deep of having to come to terms with losing this future that I had just plopped on myself, right? It was sad in a way. It was all this work, all this effort. It was the title that I realized I was more chasing than the career, and it had
The
to,
actual work.
yeah, and that's not fair, right? And I had to really like swallow a big bit of my ego to be like, okay, I'm not going to be a nurse practitioner. I'm not going to have those letters behind my name. But I knew that if I did it and if I followed through with it, I wouldn't be happy. And
I love
that
it.
that's not fair to the people, right?
Absolutely. 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 I love your awareness, and you consistently checked in with yourself. So let's understand where you were. So you found us, you're listening to the podcast. What was it that made you say, you know what? I'm gonna invest. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm doing this thing. Talk to us a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Seriously, hearing on your podcast so many people who were satisfied with their lives. That sounds so basic, but
Right.
if you talk to the average nurse, it's really hard to find nurses these days. And I'm probably speaking well, I'm over speaking, but it's hard. Everyone I was friends with, we were all struggling. We were all not happy. We were
Yeah.
all hurting, and
Yeah.
I couldn't find a one nurse who came to, I love my job, and we're all like, man, another day, we got to make it through it. And I'm like, I don't want to make it through a day anymore. I want to be
Right.
excited about my day, and hearing the guests you had, hearing their gusto and their drive, and aligning with that, and
Right.
feeling like I was listening to people who got me, even though they didn't know me. I'm like, wow, I feel just like this person. I feel just like
Right.
that person. That made me look into your course and think this was going to be the right path for me.
Got it. Awesome. So you get into the medical sales career builder.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? Talk to us about your first day. What was your experience? What were you thinking, really? That's what I really want to capture. Like, were you like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Talk to us a little bit. Share with us what was really going on when you first started the program.
I was really scared. I first of all, I knew that if I was going to do it, I had to do it 100%. So I actually paused I was still in my F&P program, and
Okay.
I didn't withdraw, but I put my program on hold,
Okay.
and I stopped everything. I was like, I'm not going to take a contract. I'm not going to work on school. This is it. Cause I knew that if I didn't do it 100%, if I wasn't fully committed, it wasn't going to work. I know other people can manage things like that better probably, but I knew for me, my focus had to be this program. So I was really nervous. I knew there was a lot riding on it. It's a big commitment. It was a huge change. I was a professional, and I felt like a professional in my career. And now all of a sudden I'm this newbie all over again, starting over, and the class setting. I am I don't know if you're big into the Myers-Briggs, 4-lettered
Sure.
personality. I'm an INFJ, so I'm an
Okay.
introvert by nature, but I can be extroverted, especially on, small group settings or one-to-one like this. I have no problem.
Sure.
But that big group setting and the big class, when we had to right off the bat introduce, I was, I remember not, I was like, catch a breath and breathe. I was panicking. But, as it went on, I got way more comfortable with it, and it definitely got easier. But it was intimidating. I didn't know anything about sales, and there were people in there that had sales backgrounds, in their careers. And I felt very, what's the word? Not ready.
Unqualified.
Yeah, unqualified, right.
Uh-huh.
Imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong here. I'm just gonna fly on the wall. So
So what would you say were some of the biggest learnings you took away? Maybe even things you didn't even know you needed that you learned in the program that you were able to take into your interviews to knock them out of the park.
networking, building a relationship, and not having it need to go somewhere. I think that was a really big lesson for me, was talk to people and know that it might not go anywhere, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Not having an agenda and just gathering information. And that was tough because, in my background, oh, sorry, that's
Oh,
Hazel.
good.
With my background, especially with the military, before nursing, it's like you have an objective, you complete the objective. Right. So for me, just having regular conversations without planning on having it go anywhere besides just gathering information and getting to know them, that was new. And that was really helpful, because I think that me doing that led to where I am now and why I got my offer.
Right.
I'm probably going to have to throw these guys outside if they keep barking, because they get crazy.
They're just excited. They're excited for you. They're excited for you, Caitlin. It makes sense. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about what were the different things that you experienced when you were in the program, from the structure of getting into a position, the process. I mean, talk to us a little bit about what it was like for you.
From the start of the class?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was so smooth. I was so impressed. The way that you have your course arranged made it really easy to flow, and made it very understandable. And it was like the Goldilocks information, right? It wasn't too much and it wasn't too little. And it, being able to move through it at my own pace was really nice as well. But I think that some of the key components of your course, like the resume help and the LinkedIn help, that was massive. I didn't even have LinkedIn, but I hadn't seen it in years. Right. And, I didn't know LinkedIn is what it is. Now I'm like telling everybody, LinkedIn, you're late to the game, Caitlin. Where have you been for the past 20 years? But nurses don't have that. So the LinkedIn help, the resume help, the interviews, like everything. It just was so professional and so flawless. I was really impressed. Very, very genuinely satisfied that, the investment up front and putting my resources into this course was paying me back. Right. It wasn't like I didn't feel taken advantage of. I didn't feel like I was paying for something I could learn myself. Like, I legitimately learned so many new things. And every week, the guests you had on, they always had great things to say, and felt like I was getting secret knowledge, right? Like I was a step ahead of everybody else because nobody else was getting what I was getting. So it was great. Fantastic. It was really, really, really
fantastic. So let's fast forward now. And this is something we're going to spend some time here. Let's talk about what was said when you went your first round of interviews. If you don't want to mention the company, you don't have to. But what was going on?
The first offer?
The first offer, yeah. Talk to us. Everybody listening, they don't know the story. Like you and I know the story, but we know the story. So I'm gonna let you tell it because I want to do it justice. So go ahead and I'm gonna let you tell it.
Right. So rookie mistake right off the bat. But I had an offer pretty quickly. I think it was like month 2 into your program. I had fixed my LinkedIn. Felt really good about it. And then I started getting recruiters, hitting me up on LinkedIn. And this one woman had seen my profile and messaged me and said, "You seem great for this clinical nurse educator position, call me." I immediately was like, no, I'm looking for sales. I'm sorry. Not even gonna consider. And she said, I know you're looking for sales, but just please consider it. And again, turned her down. No, thank you. She was so pleasant and kind. And I mean, I wasn't being rude, but I was very single-minded, right? I was tunnel vision into sales. I only want sales. So I talked to another friend of mine about it, and she advised me, maybe just hear what she has to say, and you never know. So after a couple of days, this lady messaged me again. And the third time she messaged me, I was like, okay, I've got to follow up with her. She's not giving it up. So I took my friend's advice. I called this woman, lovely woman, and she told me about this position, and it was a clinical nurse educator. So I would be educating on a labor and delivery device that I already knew about. So
Right.
I actually got really excited because I know
Right.
this device. I can, it's my wheelhouse, immediate
Perfect
comfort
fit.
blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately like, oh, I don't have to do something new. I know how to do this. I know this position. I know these people, right? I used to work with these educators that would come in and in-service us on different new Tegaderms or new band, you know what I mean? Like new devices that we would use. So it was a great opportunity. I interviewed one time, got the offer. She had actually canceled the rest of the week of interviews, which gave me a major ego boost. I was sobbing. I was in my vault. Oh
my God. So talk to us about what did one of the hiring managers say to you when you went to that first offer? What was said to you?
So I'm glad you mentioned this, but she had said to me that my digital portfolio that you guys helped me with, she had never seen anything like it in the whole 33 years she'd been in the industry. So it was, and then awesome. Her boss and her boss's boss and everybody since then who has seen that digital interview has said the same thing, and then just been really blown away by it. So it's such a awesome tool.
That is fantastic. Okay, so finish the story. So what happened?
Okay, so I got the phone call, the devastating gut punch, roundhouse kick to the face phone call that said, we're so sorry, we didn't realize that they had hired somebody. We have to rescind the offer. Do you want the bad news first or the good news first? I said, just give me the bad news first.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
and
so
they
that was really hard. They rescinded the offer. Then they had said they wanted to, do right by me. And so they gave me this opportunity that I just got the offer for, but I had to go right back to square zero. It wasn't like I was given another job. I had to go back.
You had to re-earn. Right. You had to re-earn.
And it wasn't just one interview. It was 5 interviews, you know what I mean?
Wow.
It was way more, but this was, ironically, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And as much as that hurt so much and was a great lesson, it was bizarre because originally coming into this, I knew I wanted derm farm, you know what I mean? That's where I wanted to be. Yeah, I wanted to be your wheelhouse.
And this brought you back to that wheelhouse.
Right in my life.
Isn't it crazy how the world works?
It was wild.
Mysterious ways.
Yeah, so between, me snotting and bawling, like, this is for a reason, like it's gonna work out. But it was really, so it was painful lesson to learn, but I'm glad that I learned it. And I know now to not celebrate until anything's in writing.
So you signed that offer letter. So Caitlin, I want you to now fast forward to you signing. This time you're actually signing the second offer. You got an offer now. It's real. Take us to what were you thinking? What was going through your head? Talk to us.
Well, this one, same scenario. I got the verbal offer on a Friday. And they said, look for the written on a Monday, and it didn't come through.
Oh man.
I was having a little bit of PTSD there for a minute, but my best friend Becky was like, relax, take a deep breath. Things take time, it's the holiday week. I'm like, okay, sit on my hands, don't freak out. And it came today. I was actually on my way up to go snowboarding for the day at Snow Basin with my husband. So it was already a good day. And I got it in the car, and it just was, anticlimactic in a way because we were in a car, but just so relieving and exciting. And yeah, I just was proud. I was really proud that I had stuck with it and did this massive 180-degree turn away from everything I knew, my comfort blanket, my, and I did it. And I did it really, in the grand scheme of time, I feel like it hasn't been that long, right? It's been like maybe 6 months since I started down this journey.
You know what? I think even shorter than that, because you got the first offer in the
Mhm.
second month, and
Right,
then what, a month or two after that.
right.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
should
so we're
say 6 months total since I decided to.
you decided, yeah. But
Yeah.
the time you spent in the program, I think
Program.
like barely, I don't even think we hit 4 months. So technically we're still in that 3 month-ish window. No, but that's a beautiful thing, and it's fantastic. And you deserved it. I knew when you signed up that this is going to be a wonderful journey for you. It was a tumultuous but still wonderful journey for you, and you did land on 2 feet into your medical sales role. So we're
Yeah.
very proud of you here at Evolver Success.
Thank you.
A lot of people listening to this episode and they're trying to get in, they're thinking about getting in. Is there anything you want to share with them?
Oh gosh. Commit. I don't it's hard to give advice when I don't know how a lot of other people operate. I know how I operate, but I know that for what I've learned throughout my life is if you want to do something and you're unhappy, don't don't overthink that. Listen to that little voice, because that little voice is so much more than what you think. That's your insight, that's your gut, that's your inner child telling you something's off here, something's wrong. Listen to that voice, and then once you listen to it, have the courage to take action and
Mhm.
commit to whatever it is that you're going to do for this change. It might be a small change, it might be a huge change, like my entire career. But if you're unhappy where you're at, do you want to live the rest of your life in that space? Do you want to be questioning? And this, for I don't know if this happens to you in previous careers or previous jobs, but I found myself each year being like, man, I was unhappy last year at the same time and I
Mhm.
didn't do anything. And a year goes by so fast. So much can change in a year, right? So listen to that voice, make the change, commit to the change. And in a year, you'll be in somewhere completely different, and you'll thank yourself for taking that leap, even though
Yeah.
it's scary, even though it's a lot of work, it's a lot of fear. But for me, I use fear as my cue to follow it, right? Because on the other side of it is growth, and on the other side of it is success. If you can just acknowledge that fear and walk with it and do it anyways, you're going to thank yourself in a year. And for me, that was committing to your program.
Oh, wow. True words of wisdom. Loved it. Love it. Love it. What about those that are in the industry, they're medical sales reps that listen to this episode? Anything you want to share with them?
Oh, honestly, I've been so grateful for each and every one of them that I've already spoken to, who have taken the time out. That every person has been just genuinely helpful, and that is very weird for me. That's it. That's how it should be, but
Right.
that has not been my experience, thus far in other careers. So it was so refreshing and lovely to experience people who genuinely wanted to help educate me and give me advice, or just be an ear to listen to my questions to, and I would say keep doing that, keep being that shoulder for new people like myself to lean on. It really means a lot, that support and those late night questions, and hey, how do you think I should answer this, or hey, should I, there's a couple of people where I remember specifically I was getting antsy and I'm like, should I call the recruiter back, should I do that, and they're like, just sit on your hands. And just that, right, just that small feedback of like, it's going to be okay, this is normal. That was so helpful for me and relieved a lot of stress. And I felt like I was very supported by you and your course, by all your coworkers that you have with you in the program, everybody. Great. Someone's at my door now, but it's been just really supportive and the whole way through. And that's really nice to know that I didn't have to do this on my own. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic. I love it. Okay. We're gonna have a little bit of fun here as we close up, and so much thanks to you, Caitlin, for taking the time to share with us your actual experience.
Or
We're gonna have a lightning round. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
You have less than 10 seconds to answer every question I ask you. I'm gonna ask you 4 questions. Number one, first one being, Caitlin, what is the best book you've read in the last 6 months?
Oh, oh my gosh. Untethered Soul.
Ooh, who, by who? About what?
It's Untethered Soul, and I am horribly embarrassed that I can't give this man credit because he's brilliant. I can't remember the author at this moment, but it is about recognizing your potential. It's a lot about meditation and a lot of woo-woo stuff that I'm into, but it just really is about it made me see life in a whole different perspective. It's about letting go of your perceptions and acknowledging your living in your feelings and allowing them to be there, right? It just changed how I see everybody and changed how I see the world. And it's not even, it's like maybe 150 pages. It's short.
Wow.
But it is life changing.
I love it. Untethered Soul. Writing that one down.
Mm-hmm.
Best TV show or movie you've seen the last 6 months?
Yellowstone.
Really? I did like it. It was very interesting, Yellowstone. And of course, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Who's the main character? What is his name?
I know, I can never remember his name. He looks like
gosh.
3 people to me, so I always want to say the wrong name. Yeah.
Costner. So,
Yes.
he's a phenomenal actor. He rarely disappoints. So that Yellowstone is going to deliver. That's awesome. Okay. Best meal you've had in the last 6 months.
Oh, there's these Chinese dumplings at this place in Bountiful, Utah.
You better give us the name. You better give.
It's called Boba World.
Boba World.
Where?
Where?
In Bountiful, Utah. So when I was living out in LA, I was addicted to. You guys know Northern Cafe? You got to know it.
No, I'm not
familiar. Oh, it's not far from you. You got to go. Okay. So Northern Cafe. There's multiple locations, but the one we went to was on Western in Torrance, and they had these pork soup dumplings that I like dream about to this day.
Wow.
And on the hunt out here in Utah and can't find anything.
Wow, and you found it.
Found some, and now I have to drive 45 minutes for them. But man, I'm getting in that car and going.
It's called Boba World?
Boba, yeah, like boba tea.
Boba World. Okay.
Yep.
Boba World. All right. And then very last question. Best experience you've had in the last 6 months?
I went to Yellowstone and Glacier National Parks this summer with my boys, and my son and he did his first, we're big hikers, and he did his first hike with me of a legit hike. It was a 2,800 feet elevation, and it was 8.8 miles. And wow. He was the only kid on the trail. It was a pretty strenuous trail, and he rocked it. This didn't even break a sweat. I was struggling to keep up with him, and it was really, I was so proud and so excited, and just being in those parks they're unreal. Amazing. If you've never been out there, they're just unreal.
Amazing. Caitlin, it was awesome spending time with you. Thank you for sharing your story on your experience in the medical sales career builder. And congratulations again. You got the job. You're out there doing your thing. We're going to catch up with you sooner than later, and we can't wait to get an update from you in the field.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Wow. What a story, right? We were there. We were right there when all this went down. Here's what I want to say. For all of you out there that are going for positions, you're in the interviewing process right now, or you're maybe in the last round, or you're waiting to hear back, and you finally get the call. And the call says, hey, we want to make you a verbal offer to what have you. Learn from this, because this is not about the company or about, companies. And no, this is something that can happen to anyone, especially when a third party recruiter is involved, misinformation. Sometimes people think that people are hired when they're not. And, it's something that can happen to anyone, really. But what I want you to learn from this is that when you get that verbal offer, tell no one. You don't tell anyone until you sign the dotted line. When you've signed the written offer, then you can climb the mountain, stand at the top of it, and shout from the mountaintops that you are a medical device sales rep or a pharmaceutical sales rep or a genetic testing sales rep, whatever it is that you were working so hard to achieve. You can let the world know, but until you've signed it, don't say anything. And we knew better. I knew better. But she was a phenomenal, Caitlin, she didn't show up to the program and slough her way through it. She showed up 110%. She utilized every tool we gave her. She practiced everything that we trained her on, and she delivered. And we were so swept up in it all that when she got the offer, we were just so excited. We couldn't even. We heard that verbal offer and we said, wow, yes. And we all learned, because the bomb was dropped, and we realized that we got to stick to our guns, and you don't celebrate until you sign the written offer. But that aside, this was a beautiful story. I've been so excited to share it. And I'm going to be sharing more of these stories from our students that graduate and get into these wonderful positions, because these are things that everyone should know. And of course, if you're someone that wants to get into the industry, you heard it right here. What are you waiting for? Get to evolveyoursuccess.com, select Attain Medical Sales Role, submit some information, schedule a call, and let's get you into a position. This is something that is changing lives, literally. We've done it for hundreds of people that have went through this program, and they're now healthcare sales reps today. And they're so proud and they're so happy to be in their positions, and so are we. So again, if you're someone that wants to get into the industry, visit evolveyoursuccess.com, select Attain Medical Sales Role, and let's make it happen. And if you're someone that wants to improve your sales performance, Caitlin, she's not even halfway, right? She got the position. Now it's time to deliver. We are 300% confident that she will, because she is phenomenal. However, maybe you are in a position and last year you didn't get the results you wanted. And this year, you're like, you know what? 2023 is going to be different. I know I just dated this episode. So if it's 2026 and you're listening, yes, this happened in 2023. But maybe you're thinking that it's going to be different. Well, let's do something you haven't done before. Let's go to evolveyoursuccess.com. Let's select Improve Sales Performance, and let's make it different. Let's get you some results. Every person that's went through that program has had tremendously significant results, whether it be a promotion, whether it be finally getting to Winner's Circle or President's Club, whether it be getting a new opportunity in a different division within the organization they work for. Everyone has experienced a dramatic level of success, and you can too. So please don't hesitate. Don't wonder. Visit evolveyoursuccess.com, select Improve Sales Performance. This is just such a pleasure for me, especially to share this story. And I'm excited, and I hope you are too. And I hope you tune in next week for another episode of the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.